All right, I'm really pleased to be here with Dane, who is the Retail Experience and Innovation Manager for Point Inside, Aaron, and also Lee Summers, and Marketing Technology Manager for Nebraska Furniture Mart. We're going to be, we have a couple of presentations. Aaron's going to go through some slides, and then Lee's going to do his presentation, and then we're going to have a discussion about location-based technologies, digital innovation, and we will welcome any questions from you as well. So without any more waiting, I'll turn it over to Aaron, and hopefully the clicker will work. There we go.
Great, thank you. So thanks for having us. My name is Aaron Dane. I'm from Point Inside. I'm going to spend a little bit of time just talking to you guys about our store mode platform and beacon deployment tools that we've built based on those and some location-based experiences as well. Cool. So a little bit about Point Inside, who we are and what we do. We work with large retailers to provide indoor mobile shopping experience. So think about things like product locations, maps, store-specific search, deals and recommendations that are based on your own store inventory. We're a SaaS-based company, so everything is done through the retailer's mobile application. And from a consumer side, we answer two basic questions for you when you go into the store, which is, do you have it and where can I find it? So finding a friction-free way to go about shopping a large format store. So I'm going to dive into the importance of location a little bit and spend some time on this slide. So what we do at Point Inside with our partners is digitize their space. And what we mean by that is we essentially take different layers of the store and the data that's available in your brick and mortar store and start to kind of ground them or root them in geospatial coordinates and other coordinate systems. And as you start to stack things on inside a store on top of each other, like the CAD diagram, your mobile map, maybe your product location data, and what we also call points of interest or beacons or any type of hardware you may install in a store, that's going to create kind of a routing system that allows brick and mortar retailers to dynamically manage their products and their services underneath it without ever having to touch their points of interest or their beacon deployments ever again. And the interesting aspect of that is that when you do a beacon deployment, you're going to want to make sure that you can set it and kind of forget it and not to have your store operations folks go out and retouch that beacon or move it when you move product. And that's kind of a core tenet of why we built the store mode beacon deployment platform, is to make sure that retailers have an easy way to put beacons in stores and other types of location-based technology. So why beacons? At least for today's topic, we support all location-based technologies, but beacons are a really easy way to connect your customer through the mobile device with your data, marketing data, or information about your store. So BLE is how the beacon connects to the phone. BLE is not really going to go anywhere anytime soon. So we believe that beacons are a simple way to connect you to your mobile device and to your consumer. Also covers both platforms, so iOS and iOS, simple way to connect you, both types of users. Beacons are also very low-cost technology at the end of the day. So it's going to be minimal investment depending on the experience that you want to go with. So something as easy as a welcome notification when you go in the store may only cost one beacon, very small investment. Or if you're going to a more complex and dynamic experience or some sort of wayfinding, you may have 100 or 200 beacons in your store. And you can kind of control that cost and your investment as a retailer depending on the experience that you want to use. Tons of benefits to both shoppers, but also store operations. So think about things around communicating with your own people that are in the store to help customers out or to direct them to go put other things away or to do returns or where product needs to go back in a certain area of the store as well. So they can work both on the consumer mobile side as well as retailers who are using mobile devices within their store to do operational work. And the last and the key component of what we think beacons are really great for is providing you a deeper level or a more granular level of data within your stores. So you're going to be able to start making better, more informed store-based decisions based on that in-store data. So where a customer may be in proximity to a product, how long they may spend there, the dwell time in a certain area, what a common path through a store may be, and start tying those things together with like an in-store specific search or your POS data. And so you're going to really kind of get to the point where you're going to want to understand what in-store digital clickstream starts to look like, much like you do on e-commerce sites today. So a little bit about the shopper experience. We get a lot of questions kind of inbound to us from our retail partners around what do we see in the market, what are other retailers doing, and so I'll talk a little bit about what we've seen, but really just want to say to start small. Think of your basic, most simple problem that you have today and kind of work your way up. Beacons are BLE, RF-based technology, and so mastering those signals, understanding power settings and how it interacts with a mobile device isn't easy, and there's a bit of an art to it. So start really simple with a problem that you know, maybe like you have a large store and you have to make it easy for somebody to kind of navigate through the store. That's a simple problem, and it's kind of one-dimensional. It's complex to solve using beacons, so you're going to want to tackle that first before you move into more complex dynamic experiences. So think of things like if you today go to a grocery store and use, you grab the pamphlet with the on-sale items or shop local ads and things like that, just simply by having a beacon at the front door and welcoming that customer and pushing that digital ad to them is an important first step for retailers, because it starts to drive the consumer behavior to pull out their mobile phone and start looking at their phone instead of grabbing the paper ad. And what we tell our retail partners is at the end of the day, what you really want to do is start training that behavior for consumers to go into their pocket and pull out their phone and start having some of that interaction while they're in the store with their mobile device, not just when they need it in the middle of the aisle. And so we believe you've won this battle when you start to have customers walking up and down the aisle with their phone out, waiting for that deal to get pushed to them and start gaming the system. But it's going to take a few years to kind of get there. So if you can start small and start training the consumer behavior and start driving kind of more trips and more activity that way, that's an important first step. And so simple and elegant is really the message. And so just some examples is one is just that simple in-store ad, all the way up to a more kind of complex and really kind of in-depth experience, which Target has, which is called Target Run, which is more like a Facebook ad or timeline. So as you go through a Target store in some other markets, you actually get a timeline of deals and coupons based on where you are in the store and how much time you spend there. You start to get more and more and more content pushed to you, and it's all connected through their mobile app, their flagship app, as well as some of their cartwheel ads too, which is their couponing application. So you can get really dynamic and complex with this, but just think smart and simple to get started. So a little bit about the value exchange. This is an important topic. We've had a few questions, in fact, in the past 2 days around how do I get shoppers to opt in? What's the best way to do it? And we've been through this in different iterations with different partners. And there's no really one great answer to say, how do I get a shopper to say yes for location permission? But we have found is that retailers who spend more time kind of over-explaining the experience and trying to explain that this is a really dynamic, interactive experience, customers start to get really kind of concerned and they don't really know what to expect. And so focusing on your brand value and your brand offering and the strength of your brand as part of exchanging that location is really a core message. And don't divert too far from trying to explain the technology. Explain the service that you're going to get and the value that you get in exchange for the permission. And it's really hard to articulate how important that is, but you're going to test it out, and using the Apple Store or the Google Store for feedback, you're going to see very quickly why consumers either opt in or opt out, and they're going to tell you why. And it's a great mechanism for you to understand, or a data point for you to really understand whether you're doing it right or wrong. So scaling. This is probably where we help the most for our retail partners is once we've digitized your space, and the layer cake that I showed you in previous slides is that it makes it easy for us to place beacons in a store and keep track of them, because they're essentially just like a product or a product location. They're just another asset in the store. But it's really important because we've had tons of retailers come to us and say, I've done a beacon deployment of 25 beacons and we just went back in and I can't find them anymore. So customers are curious. They move things around. They touch stuff. Same thing with employees. They don't know what it is. You can tell them exactly what it is standing in front of them and put it at the register, and 2 minutes later it'll be in the garbage can because it's in their way and they didn't want it there anymore. So we've built tools to help retailers scale these beacon deployments. And so either through a partnership or a do-it-yourself approach, this is a core tenet of what you should be doing as a brick and mortar retailer is using a platform that enables you to keep track of your beacon. So again, we offer maps and product locations. So using a map, placing the beacon in a store, keeping track of it via the map, having a health monitoring aspect of it and reports that kind of layer into that dashboard. Think of this as you would any other asset in your store, albeit they're fairly inexpensive. This is an important way for you to understand where the beacons are, how they're operating, if they're not operating, enabling an easy way through a mobile device, a beacon deployment tool to go address the issue or redeploy a new beacon. So you really want to make sure you digitize your space as you move forward with any type of location-based system, whether it is beacons, even Wi-Fi hotspots, as well as like VLC technology or lighting that's coming shortly as well. The last slide I think I have is just around analytics. So what should you expect to see around analytics and ROI for beacons or any LBS type solution is you're going to get new signals. These are all fairly new to all of us. So just understanding that you're going to get more granular level data of your shopper while they're in the store. You're going to get information about the beacon itself. And so it's important just to start to think about what these data points mean to you. You're not going to be able to action what 20 minutes of wait time means in a department today. But when you start to build up the data and understand that there's dwell time or hot spots and cold spots in a certain area, and you start to layer in context like POS data or in-store search data, you can start to understand where there's opportunities to maybe cross-merchandise items, move very hot, popular items over to grocery aisles because you want to kind of incent people to buy a toy while they're in grocery because it's popular without having to have them walk all the way over there. So you're going to start to get a lot of these new opportunities. The key message here is that they're new data points, and you're going to need to start to wrap your head around it as a retailer. And so just getting these out there in a few stores, whether it's 1 or 100, is an important first step to just understanding what the signal means and how it can start to help you in your own business.
All right. Excuse me. My turn. Hi. So what I'm going to do is show you a little bit different side of Beacon technology in that I wasn't necessarily part of our Beacon setup and design, but we utilize that data to give some customer-facing experiences with digital signage, the mobile app, the different experiences that you're going to utilize in the store is going to use the beacons that we put out. We'll talk a little bit about that. I've got a few videos showing things what we've done in our store this last year. We opened our store 1 year ago this month in Texas, the biggest store to date, and so that's what we're going to highlight today is just some of the facts from that. All right. So I always like to set the stage a little bit. These are the two projects we're going to talk about today are Berkshire Hathaway projects that are tied to the NFM brand, 80-year-old company that has a long history in the Midwest and very culture loyal following. And now we had to come to a new market. So the expectation here was we needed to transplant a brand into a new region of the country and be the anchor of something great, which is this smart city design that we hope to pull off here in the next couple of years that we're currently working on. We've got a little quote here that one of our service providers, president of one of our guys, really smart guy. I love what he said one day in a meeting about Beacon technology and how it ties into the Internet of Things. I just thought it was pretty clever, so I threw it up there. I can't actually read it, but here's a video kind of highlighting the store. It's an expanded video from the awards luncheon yesterday. There you go. So that's kind of a highlight of the store from a technology angle. We do this presentation with a different angle every time, but so if you haven't been to a Nebraska Furniture Mart, you should definitely check it out. Come to Dallas. It's a pretty fun place. So the store, again, going back to beacons and how important it is, 92% of all of our sales are still in the store. While our mobile and online sales are growing every year, the primary focus is getting that shopper the experience in store. Here's a couple other data points that we have. Total square footage of the store, just under 2 million square feet. Just one location in Texas. Square footage of the retail we saw in the video. 98% of our shoppers are return shoppers, which is a good number. Estimated 10 million visitors per year. So a lot of foot traffic. When you think of a retailer similar in size and foot traffic of Herald Square here in the Macy's, it's impressive to see. This is the first 12 months of operation, our pin map. So these are physical shoppers in our store and where they came from. So you can see what a destination NFM brand is. If you go to Texas, you go to Dallas, you're going to go to the store. That's our hope. It'll be one of the destination spots for you to go when you're going to the Metroplex there. Just some of our first year numbers as well. Again, that 92% in store sets the stage for the needing the beacon and push notifications. Average household, total orders per visit, average visits last year per person, 3.5. We are starting to grow that female shopper. We're about 50-50 right now, but I think that's going up towards the female shopper. We just announced Shields will have their largest sporting goods store in the country. Will be the other anchor of our development. So the men will have something to do, and so we can get the entire family there. So the challenge we talked about, 560,000 square feet. How do you get people where they need to be? That's the biggest challenge for us. We want that experience to be good. We don't want you to be looking for a product for hours and being frustrated with the experience. So we want to get you in and out if you want to be in and out quickly. We still are very promotional based, so you might get a sales flyer or a circular in the mail. If that gets you into the store, then we digitize that flyer, and that video showed a little bit of how we're going to get you to that product that brought you into the store quickly. Every morning at 9:30, we have a complete store set lockdown, so we use all of our digital price tags are set at 9:30 in the morning after a web crawl and lowering our market, lowering the price to the lowest in the market. And once they set that on every furniture, that's what triggers the location-based technology. So we're not going to move throughout the day, but it's going to get you to the aisle and to the department that product is in. So beacons really touch the entire path to purchase here. Every one of these points, or the retail, there's another phrase, sorry, it slipped me, but path to purchase. So we need to hit them on every point of this with notifications or capturing data to use in a future instance. So there's no part of that journey that's doesn't have the ability to tie into location-based technology. I stole this from one of our providers, but it's a great slide. I mean, you really have to define what you want that experience to be before you deploy it. You can't just throw beacons out there and without a need or without an end result to measure it. So we took a long look at that, and we go all the way down to employee productivity there. I think there's opportunities to utilize beacons for self check-in or time cards, and just funneling traffic, getting their day a little bit more productive, getting them where they need to be quicker. Some of the toolkits that our department works on: digital signage, of course, the video wall experiences, mobile tablet apps, and then touch interfaces. Being part of business development as well as IT, it allows us to help with a problem, or if there's an issue or a big wish or idea by one of the sales staff or someone in the company. We like to sit down with them, and maybe technology isn't the solution, but we like to try to help define that solution for them and find a. So, with being a new department, it's some of those department leaders are starting to invite us in to that conversation, and we've been able to help just about everybody that comes our way. Some of the emerging technologies that we'll be using in Grandscape, beacon technology, of course, being maybe the primary technology that we'll push out into Grandscape. Think of all the information and data you would utilize in one store being able to be utilized across 200 retailers. Sharing that information, building that experience door to door, and be able to provide that as a service to our tenants. This is another video. This talks specifically about our beacon
Our stores have
experience.
a managed selection. Our staff directs the movement of the products in the store every single morning. This creates a very dynamic environment. It is somewhat of a challenge for shoppers to find products that they have seen before or products that they have seen on the website. Customers want to be able to find what they're looking for fast. It would be very easy for us to just provide a mobile store map where a user can see where the restrooms are, where the cash registers are, and so forth. We took it one step further by giving users the ability to look up where every product is in the store and draw it on the map and give them turn-by-turn directions to that product. We've prototyped an app using Aruba's Meridian SDK, which has very powerful mapping features. We've installed electronic price tags. These are an LED screen on each of the products in the store. With the electronic price tag system, we're able to store the location of every product in the store constantly. With the Aruba SDK, we're able to tell the user where they are in the store. By combining those two together with our mobile website, we can allow users to, number one, find a product on the website, and number two, give them directions inside of the store from where they are standing to the product in the same moment. We've used the Aruba Beacons app to manage the deployment of the beacons while on the floor of the store and while sitting at our desks in front of the web browser. We like how the Meridian interface allows us to use a web browser to point and click and edit any map that we have and have those changes immediately reflect in the app. We hope that shoppers can feel more confident when they walk in the door that we have their product. It's in an easy to find location, and they can spend time talking with the sales representative about the product itself, not where it is.
So it's pretty simple. You put them in place, and then you set your location, and it's as easy as that. So it really is a little bit simpler than it might look. So this is our first floor. So Gavin, our app developer, and myself created routes and had to place every single location. So it's a little time consuming to get it just right, but then we came in and added routes to get you to the department level. And then we had our in-store apps and our mobile apps put another layer on top of this information so that it'll get you and highlight to that department and make it more user-friendly. So we have 250,000 SKUs at any time. So tying all those pricer information into the system, there's a lot of data coming in all at once. This is just some of our experiences. The store directories right there in the front as you walk in each door. That gets you to the product level only. I'm sorry, to the department level only. The one on the left is the retail columns that allow you to do a full search, just like the website. Key phrases, get you to the circular, get you to the product that you're looking for. We built those without the store directories without product level because we wanted you to get into the store and not have a line right there at the store. So we're logging about 27 seconds on those and about a minute and a half on the retail columns. We've logged about 180,000 sessions in the first 12 months. So I think that's, if you looked at out of 10 million people, that's not a ton. And we hope to get that number up. But people are just starting to get used to being a shopper at this store. So we're starting to see those numbers climb the longer they're there. So we saw this in the video, but it just shows the ad actually working and functioning. It's a pretty quick process. It's instant. Everything's cached there, so it's an instant feed. This bottom area we use for media generation, revenue generation for media placement for our brands, as well as the attract loop for the retail columns. We're going to offset some of that investment for a digital system.
Introducing the Nebraska Furniture Mart.
So we saw that. So measurements on the mobile app. Once we launched our mobile app, our online sales in the first quarter were up 50%. From the Q1 the previous year, it was up a full 100% of online sales increase just from the mobile app release. So it was very successful. Even though it was successful, we're already going to redo it just 12 months later because we're taking that live feedback on the floor. There's a little bit of a delay in the product information. The routing works great, but if you want product details, it still has to reach out and come back in. So we're making that a lot quicker, and we're going to relaunch this summer. Digital price tags, talked about this in the video as well, 39,000 price tags in the Texas store. So it's this impresses me still that you can know that it's the lowest price every day when you walk in. All right, and I think that covers the store. I've got some slides here for Grandscape. A lot of this was hit on the video as well. Just wanted to click through these, and I think Debbie will have some questions for us.
So you really have to visit this store to appreciate what's going on there, and you can tell from everything that's going on there that he's not getting a whole lot of sleep. I went on the tour. We walked. It was so impressive from the minute you enter the store. You're interacting with digital technology, the price changes that they're doing every day, and it involves also sort of re-merchandising sometimes, right? Depending on what the prices are for the day.
Yeah, we might want to put it in a different location, and we're known for every day you could come in and the store look completely different. New bedding, new pillows, new rooms on the weekends, so that it's always fresh. We have an army of merchandisers every morning that resets the store every
really
day.
early in the morning. So let's talk kind of, as a group, a little bit about when planning these kinds of digital initiatives. Now, certainly no one in the room is going to be doing all of the things that you're doing in Nebraska Furniture Mart, but probably everyone is thinking about, what should they be doing next as far as digital initiatives go. Everybody's talking about beacon technology. Should we use it? How should we use it? How do you figure out in your organization and with the customers that you work with, and what's your advice for, who owns these projects within the organization? Which departments are part of the core conversation, and how do you figure out how to, organize the process so that it's going to work smoothly moving forward? I don't know. Aaron, you want to?
Yes. So from our side, it was we typically partner with a mobile or marketing team to kind of kick off the initiative, at least the initial investment. I think one of the core kind of tenets or lessons learned that we had is to scale to 4,000 doors or 1,800 doors or whatever our partner may have at the time. To do that with the 10 or 12 person marketing team to place 200 beacons is probably not going to be. It won't be successful. So that enabled us to kind of build better tools that store associates could actually go do these types of activities. So that lesson learned was involving store operations a lot earlier on in these conversations so that they understand that we may be coming to you to deploy some hardware in your store, and we're actively working with our partner to build a tool that's very simple and easy to use that most of your guest services folks, your retail teams can actually use. Just click, place, connect, and walk away. But I think that's one of the critical lessons learned is that this technology, because it's hardware and things like that, doesn't just span mobile and marketing. It actually touches your store teams, your operations teams, and sometimes even fulfillment or supply chain folks if you're going deep into like buy online, pick up in store enablement and using beacons to do more things like that. So.
And I know that you had some challenges as far as kind of who was making decisions about what and how to get everybody to work together on these projects.
Yeah, it was a brand new. Of course, it's brand new, but even my department was brand new. It was an 80-year-old company. We started a brand new department. Who even owns that department? Who do you report to? Was a big conversation. But inside that department, how do you interact with the entire group? That was definitely something we're still defining today. But marketing and IT working together, of course, with e-com and mobile in there is, I mean, it's not always easy, but we have a culture where I think everybody's open to that idea. It's been, I mean, I think everybody's been pretty open. They know it's coming. They're willing to do that. We were just talking out here about, yeah, you can own an experience, but who's going to own the strategy behind the messaging, especially on the push notifications? You have the technology in place. Who's going to own and understand the science about getting some sales lift from a message? I don't think anybody's quite done that great yet, and we're in the same spot. So we're still trying to redefine what that looks like.
Okay. All right, so are we out of time? No. Oh, okay. Okay. It went down to 0 and then it started again. Threw me off a little bit. Yeah, I'll just want to ask the audience if there's anyone who had any specific questions before we move on to the rest of our discussion, because I want to make sure that, if you have any insights or questions about beacons or location technology that you'd like to ask.
Most of the tagline to how to get the organizations to work together.
Mhm.
I'm curious how, and assuming this was an enormous investment, so how did that come down? Who led that charge? The organization?
So the question's about, so it was a large investment, and how did,
And are all your stores wired like that? Or just the one in Texas?
Well, all of our stores have the beacons now. The Texas store, of course, has additional infrastructure that allowed us to do that when we had a brand new construction. So we could prep that store a little easier with future technology needs, and it's a little harder to go and retrofit into an existing space, especially that big. But we do have beacons in our other locations as well. It was part of the entire mobile app release, was to get a common experience across all 3 markets. But we're a little easier because we only have 3 stores. Although they're huge, you don't have to build something for 2,000 different footprints, right? So it's very unique to each one, and I think it's a little easier for us to deploy in just a handful of locations. Yeah.
so also with Grandscape, now you have how many retail tenants coming in?
About 200
About
is the
200.
expectation.
Can you talk a little bit about how that's coming together? I know you talked to me in the past about, they're kind of applying to be part of this project because you need to have the buy-in to be part of this digital revolution that you have going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was really what drove a lot of our experiences at NFM, is that we had to set the bar for other tenants, because one leg of Grandscape is 3 legs, and a third of the entire vision of Grandscape is technology. So we wanted to create a smart city, especially in that region. It's going to be the only one around. And the brands that come to us are going to have to want to be where NFM set the table, at. And we have the most patient capital in the world, because that's what Mr. Buffett will say, is that it can be the last land available in North Texas. We just want to get the right tenants there, so that we're going to have a long partnership and experience. So just building a destination, a technology destination for those that want to be part of a technology destination.
Okay. So, and Aaron, you mentioned Target a little bit. Are there other retailers that either one of you, look to as good examples who are, using location technology successfully?
Yes, Target's a great example, I think, for beacons in terms of like the dynamic interaction that you get to. I think Lee's store is wonderful in terms of just it's a simple problem. It's a hard problem to solve for using beacons, but it's a simple problem. How do I navigate the store easier? But it's a singular problem. I think that's the key message, is just trying to pick something simple and singular and go after it and solve it, and then have the infrastructure there to do other things. So I think Apple's another great retailer out there that has been doing it for so long that you don't even realize that they do it anymore. But going into the stores here in New York and getting a push notification tells you about the Genius Bar and services available and self-checkout. I mean, it's just a really easy thing in retail to execute on, but they do it well, and it's consistent. So I think it's another brand I would look at and say simplicity, but you know what you get when you walk in, and it's consistent.
How about you, Lee? Have you had any great experiences with it in other retail locations? No?
There's great sporting. I think the new Levi Stadium out in San Francisco is a great example of push notifications, and they have about the same amount of beacons that we have in our store, and so to bring beacons into an outdoor event like that, I think that was a great deployment as well.
So what do you do to get, so 2 levels of engagement, internal engagement with your employees, and then educating, you talked about you had 10 million visitors, but 180,000 people have used the screen, the interactive technology. How do you educate both your store employees and get them engaged with it, and also how do you educate consumers about using it?
Well, we have a mix of employees. We relocated 400 families from other markets. Of course, they brought the culture to NFM Texas, and so it's a little easier for the new guys that have come in because that's all they know. It's the store with these added features. The existing guys, a lot of the management, there's been some learning curves because they've been there for years, and they knew how to sell their product a certain way. And at the same time we did this, we launched tablets in each sales associate's hands, and there's a lot of new technology being thrown at them at the same time. It's all been well received, but yeah, there could definitely be an uptick in training and buy-in from the retail floor staff. So we're working through ways to reward them for engagement, a reward system where maybe the brands, for instance, we have 14 digital experiences that are all in-home built for our app, for our luxury premium brand appliances. And so those appliance brands are willing to do a sales associate reward program, reward them with product if they encourage customers to utilize the new technology. Because they all have contributed to this, and so they want to see those numbers up. And they think it's a tool that can help you manage through their entire line of products. And so employee rewards, so some of our brands are helping us with that.
So engaging with your brand suppliers is a smart way to get them involved and also motivate the employees.
Yep.
Are there any companies that you've been working with, Aaron, that have done a good job of getting the buy-in, both sides?
Yeah, I would just say, company-wise, I'd probably just turn on its head and say it's about getting the employees to actually go use it. So the tools that you build, just the web interface that Lee showed in the videos, if you can get a store manager to touch that every day and change their route lines, or install or drop a beacon in, they're going to talk to their own employees about what they are. They're probably going to empower them to go do a few of these installations in their stores themselves. So if the user can interact with the technology faster and it's not kind of this black box for them, we find that they adopt these things much faster, deploy them much faster, and actually will promote them to their customers because they've kind of been empowered to own the experience and the technology themselves. And I think the worst thing you could do as a retailer is kind of hire a third party to swoop in one night and drop in 200 beacons and walk away and have your employees not know what these white devices stuck above their heads are anymore, and have to go through some sort of educational mission through typical channels of your intranet or whatever you have. And so again, the right tool sets, the in-store tools, mobile tools that this generation of kind of that workforce uses today every day, and let them go do it is how you get them to buy in.
So what are a couple of the things that are most misunderstood about beacons these days? There are people out there who question, the hardware. Is it going to break? Do we have to replace it? Are there privacy issues? I know there are a lot of discussions about,
Yep.
So what's most misunderstood about beacons?
Yeah, I think most of the times we get a lot of questions around how do you tell a beacon what to say, or how does a phone talk to a beacon, and things like that. And at the end of the day, beacon is just a signal. It is essentially what it is defined to be. It's just pushing a signal saying, I'm here, and your phone listens for that. And the experience or the software that you build on top of that signal to enhance the shopping experience is really kind of the magic. And so I think there's kind of a misnomer out there around what a beacon can actually do and how much you need to do with it. It's really, again, it's a simple RF signal. And the key is really how you leverage the power settings and its advertising interval, and some aspects of how to tune the beacon in its location to make it a powerful and consistent experience are the things that you want to focus on, and let the developers kind of understand what those signals are and kind of wrap their heads around it. And we also get a ton of things around battery life and how long is this going to last in my store, and do I need to go touch it, and all those kind of questions and answers can be seen on most beacon provider websites, and those questions have been answered 1,000 times, but it's top 2 probably.
Are there any other questions before we get ready to wrap up in a few minutes?
Hi, can you explain in a little greater detail the current 80,000 impressions or sessions, and how you got to a number of 500 million?
Which 500? Let me see.
For the digital kiosk interaction?
Yeah, I know that I can get to that. Sorry. 500,000 in media placement. So this is a rating that we are using, a Nielsen model that based on our CPMs and foot traffic in our store. So it's a quick formula that we have 19 interactive touch screens that have an attract loop on it, and we can get X amount of impressions in the store per day. So it is, we kind of established that rate card ourselves and then validated it with a third party. So that's if we were to sell out that space to all of our internal brands as an a la carte buy-in option, or a non-endemic advertisers as well. We've got outside advertisers that know that 10 million people are going to be in our store. It's a captive audience. So they call us all the time asking, what would it take for me to be on your network? So that required us to take it a step further and engage a group to help us define that. I'm sorry? No, it was another research company that came out of Nielsen. But it's now if we were to ever want to increase that, we would probably need to hire a Nielsen to come in and do an actual case study on the store so that we could put their stamp on it as well.
Okay. All right, so let's just get ready to wrap up. We have a couple more minutes. Are there any, is there any particular advice or lessons learned that you want to share as far as, implementing these kinds of strategies and technologies, and anything that you would have done differently?
There's a few things that I wish we would have pushed a little harder for, because after that initial phase of deployment, everybody's kind of ready to just relax and not do anything else for a while. But if we don't start now, it's going to be 3 years before the store is refreshed and there's no new experiences. So it's going to get stale, quickly. So there's a couple of, now that it was all up, you think, oh wow, we've got 200 displays in here. That's going to be a lot. And then you see the walls and how big they are, and you're going up, and they're kind of hidden, which is good for store design purposes. But you walk into Macy's Herald Square, and everywhere there's motion everywhere, and there's energy in that store. That I think that we underestimated the scale a little bit, to the point of, especially on our second floor is all of our furniture brands. And so I think we needed some additional movement and energy on the second floor. So we're looking at opportunities, but I don't know how quickly we'll be able to deploy them.
Because of
It's,
budgeting? Or?
yeah, I mean, it's just the store's so new, and I think that, like I said, it took everything to get it up and running, and I think everybody's just ready for it to just let it coast for a little while.
You have this other little project going on around the store also right now.
Yeah.
Aaron, any thoughts on
Yeah, I think there's kind of 2 messages from a deployment side. Think about scale and the things you'll need to be successful, and don't think about it from 1 beacon to 20 beacons to 200 in a store, but then think across all your doors as well. So this is a massive network of assets that you're going to want to keep track of and understand what's happening, because that essentially is your infrastructure for the experience. On the flip side, on the experience side, I think our message is clear. It's start simple, think about a singular problem that you're trying to solve and work hard at that to understand how location-based solutions work, how beacons work, how RF signals work, and get your developers familiar with those, and start to really digest what those signals mean to you, and start to wrap your head around the analytics. So simplicity is key to really help yourself understand what's going to happen in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years as this really starts to come around.
And real quick, how do you build the business case for this kind of project? You know, is there an expected return on investment?
Yeah, that's definitely a common question as well. So there are things you can do. For example, if you are going to take a push notification aspect of it, is you can sell that space. We know retailers today that are monetizing that to other brands. So if you want to monetize, that to Tide, to push notification around Tide deals in a store, retailers can do that today. So there are ways to monetize it. I think at the end of the day, right now we're telling retailers is think about making better, more informed decisions with this data, and growing some strength around those analytics and those in-store analytics. And think about the world 10 years ago in e-commerce when you stood up a site and that site then got a little bit better with maybe SEO techniques, and then you started to figure out how to get a funnel correct and all your clickstream data, and now you have a pretty clear path on how you convert a customer. All those pains that you probably absorbed or have gone through over the past couple of years to get to where you are today are the same probably pains you're going to go through with this new in-store signal data, but you're going to want to go through it because at the end of the day, you know how you can start to influence your sales and grow your business pretty quickly once you have those signals and have a good understanding of how they work.
What about the business case in Nebraska Furniture Mart for this?
Well, it was a little different too
Yeah.
because we had to up the game a little bit because that's what we were expecting for other tenants. Of course, there was justification behind everything, and we're continuing to prove out the value. But we had to really kind of set a stage, and so that's our use case was not necessarily revenue based. It was more of this is a long-term investment. And if we get retailers from UK and Asia and different ones coming into our market to be part of this, then this is what the expectation is going to be.
All right, excellent. All right, well, I think we're ready to wrap up unless anyone has a last question. All right, thanks to
Thank
both
you.
of you.
Yep.